Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm glad another week has gone by. I woke up to a blustery and balmy -6 degrees today, so we are technically 5 degrees warmer than yesterday. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem so cold unless you're out there for more than 60 seconds and then that wind starts to hit you, and then all of a sudden it's bada boom, Anyway, today's topic is a man who appeared not really as an instructional too much, but he is on one of my video series, excuse me. But many of you back in the old days that came here to work out got to meet him and get on the mat with him, and he is just Brian Deneve. There's just really not much more I can say than that. Brian Deneve had it all and really worked hard at everything. When I met him back in, I believe it was 1998 at a seminar that I did in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly, at a college, and he ended up moving to Chicago. He's originally from the Quad City areas. I'm not good with I think it's 150 or so miles from Chicago or something like that, for those of you who aren't familiar. And, there were some lean times, and Brian worked hard. And then, life, too, gets in the way, and he went and got something far more important, which was an education, eventually a career, and so on. I like to tell the story of him and one of my other students, I believe it was Martin, or could have been Dave, went to Paulson's seminar and just tore everybody up at the seminar. And Eric Paulson was, like, wow, who'd you learn from? And he's like, Tony, Cecchine, and Bruce Lee, and so on. And it was just, Brian had just an incredible amount of ability, and just blew people away. He was, I miss Brian. Now I heard he's married now. He moved away, and the child, and that's great. And nothing but good things should happen to this guy because he deserves it. He's gone through a lot of stuff, and I just think I just can't say enough stuff. We had guys coming in, I don't want to mention names and stuff, but I'm a fighter, I'm a pro fighter. I don't need to learn leg locks, I already know leg locks, and he'd get on the mat with Brian, and instantly Brian would submit him with a leg lock. And the guy would be humble and say, oh, I guess I got to learn more. That's the type of guy Brian was. It's the type of guy most of my guys were, not flashy, as far as braggadocio and stuff, just effective and try to get the stuff done. I think sometimes Brian had a case of the nerves. He was the finest gym wrestler you could ever see. He actually even won some tough man contest, I believe, in Iowa. His original background, if I correctly remember, is Taekwondo. He is a half Korean, and just a great guy, and he's another person that you need to know is there for you when you're down and out. Like when I was sick in the hospital, he came and spent the night and stayed and just was there for me. And you don't meet a lot of people like that. You just don't in this world. And I'm not going to say in this day and age, because I'm sure that just at any point in time there just weren't a lot of people molded like Brian Deneve. And something. I miss those old times, back in the 90s and the 2000s, early, when everybody was still here, everybody was together, everybody was young, and, we faced a lot of adversity. We were always the underdogs, and it was okay with that. Who cares? I mean, I came from a neighborhood growing up where I was the underdog, and these guys never got beaten up by it. They thrived on it. It's just, you can't turn back the hands of time, but, maybe one day we'll all get like a little reunion. That would be nice. Get all of us together, Dave Herlick and everybody else, and just everybody who's still within within reason. Costa may be the hardest one to get because he lives so far away. But yeah, it would be kind of nice, to have a little reunion, and I would like Brian to be one of the guys front and center. Brian, like me, doesn't deal with the internet, and he's actually, many of the guys that I talked about don't even have Facebook pages. But I don't know if like I said, I haven't talked to Brian in a while. I mean, I've known Brian, like I said, since 1998. So I think I've known him, Bruce, a little bit longer, and then Brian. So that's 17 years. That's a long time. So I haven't talked to Brian in a few years now, but he's just, never leaves my mind. I always think of him, and not for his skills on the mat, because along with those skills, I remember all the doggone hard work he put in and everything else. Damn. But I remember him as a humanitarian, as a human being, and for the things that he's done that has touched me personally. Okay, I still remember the Pac-Man sweatband. Or wristband. He's just one of a kind, and I wish other people could be like him and in him. And he's dignified. He and Costa were like a blend of me. Brian moved quick, and there was a time when I thought, man, maybe we're pushing him too hard, but he was very resilient, because he was also working out at the military school. And when he would go back home, and visit and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, and he just persevered, and he was great. Man, that's all I can say about him. And a lot of times I thought guys would quit. Some did, because it's hard work. I got an email yesterday from somebody that posts on here. I won't mention his name because I'm private about it. But the thing is, he says the same thing. People don't want to train hard, and that's something that I dealt with in the 90s and so on. So I'm always, and by the way, they think I'm rough. There's nothing like what I went through. I went through with a real hooker, a real shooter, a guy that, the strongman who was old, concentration camp survivor, put me through hell. I've said it a million times. If I tried to do that stuff today, I'd get arrested. Yet I didn't quit. But so many people just quit. They don't have the intestinal fortitude. They want it to be easy. They want it to be fun. And I'm sorry, but, I don't look at it that way. I mean, this stuff is first and foremost to defend yourself, to self-defense, to save your life or someone else's. Can't be fun. And Brian came along at a time when we were wrestling on concrete. I had just gotten, a few years, out of the hospital. I mean, I was paralyzed and shit and had to relearn to walk, and I didn't have the ability or the desire to, get a school, per se. We were training out of the old tool and die shop. We had our weight room area and everything. And man, this guy, that was before we had heat and air conditioning. Freezing in the winter, burning up in the summer, and nobody complained. As a matter of fact, when we finally got to better quarters, things weren't the same. We kind of missed that old hard school of knocks. It's harder than even the old timers had to go through. All right, the old timers may have had no heat and air, but they certainly weren't wrestling on concrete with metal shavings around and equipment and stuff like that. We did all of that, and nobody bitched. None of the core guys. The core guys never complained. They liked it. It set them apart from everyone else. Plus, they were getting top-notch training. And Brian, was the guy out of my students at that point. He never was big. He, physically he was tall, but always thin, lanky. But he came from basically a nothing, in wrestling to really learning it all. So I miss you, Brian, and I think about you all the time, and I wish you and your family the very best. So anyway, that's my message for today. I hope everyone has a good Friday night and into the weekend, and I may talk about somebody else tomorrow, or we may take a little break from this because I have so many people that I need to mention, and we can always come back to these topics later. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and really, all these people that I have mentioned, every one of them is world class in something, okay? And for those of you who are watching, I know, without even meeting you, that you all have traits and qualities that are as good or better than anyone else that you know. And don't ever look at somebody from a physical standpoint, perhaps, and say, I'm not as good as them, therefore I'm, not as good as them. That's not the case ever. Somebody may have an ability that exceeds your ability at the same thing, but that doesn't mean that they're an overall better person. Okay? Everyone has something in them that can shine. It's up to you and only you to let that come out. And I have been blessed to have these men that I've mentioned bless me by just being themselves and let me see the real them. So anyway, you guys all have a good weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.